The more you know. Brought to you by Flagstaff, Rockwood, building better RVs, making smarter RVers.
Let's visit about the approach to buying an RV today. What advice do you give buyers today that you wouldn't have given, maybe would be different today than it was 2 years ago before this whole pandemic thing started? What kind of buying advice would you give me today? I know that in 2022, we've got, thank goodness, RV shows coming on and consumer shows, and people are going to be able to, see lots of units. But give me some advice. What does Zach say I need to do? What's my approach in 2022?
I think it's a great question, because I think for sure you're going to have to be a little bit more patient and understanding than we had to be 2 years ago. And most people are reasonable and get that. I mean, if you go try to buy anything right now and it's just stuff's up in the air, supply chains are tough, and we do our best to try to quote timelines, but even that can get wonky just from little things, can slow things up tremendously. So I would say managing your expectations that if it's January and you want to go camping in March, it's probably not going to happen. Our lead times are still much longer than that. The other thing I think is something that you've hit on many times before is, don't rush. Even if you're excited, even if you've been shopping for 6 months, like, make sure you really know for sure what you want and buy it right the first time, and don't rush, and don't be afraid to ask questions or, feel pressured or feel like you're asking dumb questions. That's when I get all the time when I'll talk to somebody where if they get to me and they'll just keep saying like, oh, this is probably a dumb question, but it's like, no, listen, like, you've never camped before.
Yeah.
It's like saying, you've had an apartment your entire life and you're going to go buy your first house. You have a realtor there to try and help answer what you think are dumb questions, but you've never done it before. So it's not a dumb question if it's something you want to know. And so I say, don't be afraid to ask those questions. And I think you can get a good vibe for who you're buying from based on how they respond to some of the questions that you might think are dumb. Do they take the time to explain that to you instead of making you feel dumb for asking it? And that says a lot about the person that you're working with and how they'll take care of you moving forward. And I think that is going to be an even more important thing moving forward in our industry than ever, is who you're buying from, not just the brand, but who you're buying from, your local dealer that is going to take good care of you and not just check you off the box, count you as a number. Yeah, service will take care of that. Like, you want someone who's going to care about you and your family and what you're doing. I think that's incredibly important.
What are your thoughts on prices? I mean, prices are, if you watch the news, you see cargo ships and containers, tens of thousands of these containers, and a lot of them have RV parts in them that just can't get offloaded. And those prices are fluctuating, changing, and they're not coming down, it looks like to me. What do I need to be prepared for in 2022? Is it going to be a good time to buy? Or should I wait? Maybe things will go back down. Thoughts on that?
I guess I would say that, gosh, I hope so. I hope it calms down.
But it's probably not going to happen.
I don't have a lot of confidence, that it's going to. I mean, I don't know what, almost 17 years now, I guess I've been doing this, and I can't necessarily say that I've ever really seen, price reductions. Usually what you'll see is if it starts creeping up, then someone will come out with a Flagstaff light, or something like that, where it's like, hey, we're going to decontent, we're going to pull out a lot of stuff to reduce the price to make it better. But I don't see a time when it's going to drop dramatically. And I think I've told you this before, that the best advice I could give a customer is if you have the desire for you and your family to go camping, and you have the means to do it without financially burdening you and your family, the best time to do it is now. Because I don't see things getting cheaper. I think it's just a natural part of economics, but maybe right now it's a little bit crazier than normal, but I don't see it getting cheaper. And I come back to also, it's the whole side of families, and I see it all the time, where your kids are only going to be 5 and 6 once. Next year they're 6 and 7, and so on and so on. And if you have that, that's why I say, if you have that desire and you want to go, I think it's a gamble to say, well, I'm going to wait until prices come down, because I don't know that they're going to come down dramatically. Even if they come down at all, it's not going to be something where, hey, we have a 30% price reduction. Like, that's just not realistic. Right. It's not going to happen.
You can't tell your kids to stop growing. You guys, just stay there at 5 and 6 years old, and we'll be back next year when the prices come down. Life doesn't work like that. So if you can afford it, if it fits into your budget and you find the right RV, and that's what you want to do it, but own it. Own your decision for whatever you buy.
And if you're not comfortable with how expensive something is or whatever, then there's probably, that's a whole other personal finance thing. But I also understand where people are coming from. I mean, if you go look for a truck right now, some people are putting these market adjustment price stickers on there. I saw one on something on a forum the other day where it was a Toyota Tundra that a dealer out on the East Coast put a $15,000 market adjustment fee. It's like a $75,000 Toyota Tundra. And to me, that doesn't feel good. Like, I'm not going to go do that, but that doesn't feel good to me because it's artificial. That's, just someone trying to make extra margin, not necessarily, hey, here's just the situation, and so that
this is not just RVs. I mean, cars, like you were saying. A friend of mine just bought a Toyota, brand new Toyota. It was the only new Toyota on the entire dealer lot. A lot of used ones. Everything else was used. One new Toyota, and he bought it, paid more than sticker price for it because he wanted it. And he said when they signed up the deal, there was somebody else coming in and said, I want to buy that car out there. And they're selling as fast, and cars are selling fast. RVs are selling fast. Yeah. So,
and I guess, and again, that comes back to the whole, the personal finance is personal, but for me, I'm not going to pay over MSRP for a vehicle, just because the market's hot right now. So I think that there's, use some logic when you're shopping. If someone's trying to rip your face off, for the pricing, then I would say, don't make a bad decision. But if it comes down and you've done your homework and hey, this is about a fair price for where the market is right now. They're not gouging me over here. It's the unit that you think you want, and you want to do it because your kids and your experiences. Do it. I mean, that's what this is all about, right? I could get into the whole what RVing is about, but it's about experiences and family and going and doing fun things in fun places in the comfort of your own world that you can take with you. And that's the coolest part about all the shows I've worked over the years, and how many families I run into that it's the parents and everybody. They started off with a tent, and then they worked their way all the way up from trailers to motorhomes, and they've got the kids with them, and now the grandkids, and it's like multiple generations that this is just what's in their blood. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. They talk about the trips they take and the experiences they had, and you'll sit there when you're working with these people, and even the kids will talk about, you remember that year when I was 12 and we went to the Grand Tetons, and remember when that ice storm came in and we got stuck there and it was just us. I was just talking to a customer of mine there yesterday who he's taking his kids on a trip, but he still remembers when the government shut down in 1995 and they couldn't go to some of the national parks because they were shut down over a debt ceiling thing. And he's talking about that, and he's like, I still remember, but we went and we stayed in the camper and we did our best. And he's like, so to me, it's all about those experiences and the memories. And I don't know. I mean, that's the best part about this industry. And so well, owning a campground, I mean, just that's the fun. And all the other stuff that's stressful and oh, how much is it now? And the price increases. And you and I get caught into the tunnel vision of that. But I try to remind people not to lose sight of, it's not about perfectly timing the market. It's about perfectly timing when it's right for you and your family, and just go have fun.
Perfect. Okay, that's good. Really good. Okay. Next, we've got just a couple more things, Zach.
Uh-huh.
Let's visit for a minute about responsibilities. The manufacturer, the dealer, the owner. What are my responsibilities? How important is it for me to understand that I have real responsibilities when I own this RV that I may not have when I buy a new Ford F-150 or whatever, because I just assume everything's going to work forever, at least a couple of years. Talk to me about responsibilities. What do I need to know if I'm buying my first RV?
Yeah, I think and it's something you and I have talked about a lot before. I mean, there's a lot of frustration and bad experiences that can be avoided with three things, and it's a toolbox, YouTube, and an open mind. And it's coming into this knowing you've got a house on wheels that you're going to tow around the country. You're just going to have little things that go wrong. I mean, you're going 60, 70 miles an hour down the road, like it's vibrating, like it's a house on wheels. Even with a brand new vehicle, you still have responsibility. You still have to get it in for regular maintenance and do some of these things. So it might be something that's a little bit foreign to people, but I really try to encourage people to understand, there is a level of responsibility that comes with this, that if you can accept that responsibility and own it, you're going to have such a better experience. The people that come into this and expect everything to be perfect and no issue whatsoever, and that when there is an issue, I'm going to be able to take it right to my dealer that day, and they're going to, have that part, and I'm going to go camping whenever I want. Like, those are the people that I always find set themselves up for just a miserable experience because they just believe that's how it should be. And it's just not necessarily the case. We just had one last week where someone was blowing up the dealer that I was visiting, and they wanted, like, I need to get it in. Like, it was something, I can't remember. It was something very basic. And they're like, well, are you trying to leave for a trip? When are you leaving for the next trip? Like, let me see what we can do. They're trying to help the person.
Right.
It's like, oh, no, we're not going till, we don't have a trip till March. It's like, well, why are you killing us over trying to get in like tomorrow over something that you're not even going to use for 4 or 5 months? And so it's one of those of just have a little bit of awareness that dealers are busy, supply chains are stretched, parts, things like that. If you can just jump on YouTube and learn how to do a few little things in your own unit and carry a toolbox and know that little things are going to go wrong, if you have that mindset, it's not going to ruin your camping trips.
I love what you said. A toolbox, YouTube, and an open mind. Yeah, that's it. Because on YouTube, you can find just about anything. Your answers to almost anything.
Yes, and I use YouTube when I go camping.